Hey, what's happening, everyone? Sir James coming at you guys with another video. In today's video, I'm here to provide you guys with my review on Attack on Titan 2, which is made available for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and even the Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool to see. Now, pretty much where exactly does Attack on Titan 2 leave off? Well, pretty much this isn't an exactly continuation of where the first game ended. Instead, you're actually going through the original storyline all over again, and then afterwards you actually get access to the new content. Now, what makes this game a little bit different as far as storytelling goes is that you're actually not playing as the main character. Instead, you actually get to play as your own character through the character customization, and again, you're going through the same story process but in a different perspective, which honestly actually works very well. Again, some people may not like the fact that they have to replay through the original storyline just to get to the new content, but again, at the same time, it's actually kind of nice to going back and kind of going through the process all over again, but from a different point of view. And what's cool too about your character is that anytime there's a cutscene, you're actually not seeing it from a third-person view. For the most part, you're actually seeing it in first person, which actually makes the experience feel a lot more immersed, which is actually why I love this one compared to the first one a lot more. Now, as far as the graphics go, it's pretty much come to no surprise that the graphics actually look very good. Now, if you've played the first game, for the most part, the graphics may seem like they are kind of identical, but from my point of view, after playing the first one and then jumping into the second one, I feel like we did get a graphical improvement here and there, especially some colorization, some shading. And of course, the other nice thing too is that the game feels a lot more bigger compared to the first one, so we get to see a lot more things. I mean, yes, there's going to be some identical things from the first game, but here, the improvements that were made and plus making everything feel a bit more bigger is definitely a nice change of pace. The other aspect that I like too is that compared to some of the locations where you kind of have a limited access to areas that you get to explore, here when you're kind of in town and not in any type of major combat and being able to interact with some of the different characters, I feel like you kind of get to see a different aspect of the game that you never got to see within the first one. So again, visually this game looks excellent, and for anyone that's a fan of Attack on Titan, you're definitely going to enjoy the visualization. Now, next up, let's go ahead and talk about gameplay, because besides storyline, gameplay is like a really important part of this game, because you know it can't be Attack on Titan unless if it feels like Attack on Titan, if that makes any sense. And I gotta say, gameplay is definitely nailed on point, and they even made some improvements here and there to kind of make things a bit better, such as of course the abilities and skills you get to use. There's even this new term where there's going to be some stations set up and you could actually kind of build different towers, from artillery to cannons, and of course even areas to resupply. And the first game, when it comes to resupplying, you would have to go find some of the units on map, and of course you get to resupply your air tanks from there, but here you get to build these structures and resupply from there. So it kind of adds a little bit of a strategy element, especially if you try to lure the Titans into kind of a kill box, and that actually works out very well. And again, they've also made some improvements to the omnidirectional mobility gear to kind of make things feel a little bit more easier and tweaked, and I think that was actually pretty nice. Now, one of the other cool things that they've added as well is during some of the off sessions when you're not in the middle of combat, just kind of, you know, stationary as you kind of work on crafting and stuff like that, you actually have the ability to interact with characters. It's not just like a okay, you're going to kind of talk with them and that's about it. There's actually a purpose to this, and you actually get to build a bond with them. And the stronger the bond by choosing the right dialogue, you will actually kind of unlock some additional skills with them. And I think that actually works out pretty cool. Now, the other nice feature too is that in the original game, you got to play, pick between 10 different characters. In this game, you actually get to play with up to 37 different characters. And again, this is not counting your custom avatar that you get to make around the beginning of the game as well. So in total, in general, you have 37 of the original cast of characters you get to pick from. And on top of that, you have your avatar, making the roster 38, which I thought was absolutely amazing. Of course, you also have the co-op experience if you wanted to play online. You have the same co-op experience from the first game where of course you work together to complete objectives. And of course, there's also a new mode where you can go head to head with a friend or just someone else in general and to see who could slay the most Titans. And of course, you know, that might have some balancing issues, but then again, it's all meant to be fun regardless of how it goes. Now, as far as crafting goes, crafting is the same as it was in the first game. As you're battling the Titans, you're going to notice that there's going to be certain parts of their limbs, whether it be the arms or legs, where of course you kind of see a gold icon. By of course slicing that bit of their body part off, of course you're going to get that crafting material, which you could use to customize and craft different blades, and of course your omnidirectional gear as well. And of course you could upgrade them to increase their overall toughness, so that way they're not going to break apart, and the less likely chance that you have to replace the blades during the middle of combat. And of course you could also increase the sharpness, and the same thing for the omnidirectional gear, where you could increase the amount of gas intake that they have in different styles. Again, you could kind of customize and mix around however you want, and of course you also have costumes that you could get as well. But again, as far as the gameplay mechanics go, the gameplay mechanics are very smooth. I like the improvements that they've made along the way, and again, it's very solid nonetheless, because there's really not too much of a difference that they can do compared to the first game, because the first game I felt like they nailed it, but again, they definitely tweak some areas here and there, especially with the omnidirectional gear that is definitely much needed. And again, just the whole freedom of movement, being able to go around and just like circle around Titans, and of course issue commands to your allies to attack certain parts as well, is definitely a nice change of pace. And again, I like the addition of being able to build these sentry towers to kind of give you a little bit more of a tactic, and kind of again being able to tweak things around to your personal gameplay style. But again, everything worked out quite well, and gameplay is definitely rock solid. Now, as far as replayability goes and final score, the replayability is actually very good. Again, you start off the story by going through what you're already familiar with within the first game, but from a different perspective. Then afterwards, you get access to the new content, and here you have a lot of different crafting options and items that you get to make. Of course, different outfits that you'll be able to obtain. So again, there's definitely replay value here, and the co-op is always fun. It's nice to go in here and play with your friends and just basically slaughter all the Titans in your pathway. Eventually you get to the point where, of course, after you've crafted and upgraded your weapons so much, to the point where the Titans are just going to be a breeze, but there is a little bit of a difficulty setting that you could also change to kind of tweak things around and make the Titans a little bit tougher as well. But again, as far as the game goes, and my final score is that I did enjoy this one. Some people may say that this seems like an Attack on Titan 1.5 rather than a 2, and I can kind of see what they're going from their point of view, but regardless of how it is, even if you say it's an Attack on Titan 1.5 rather than Attack on Titan 2, it's kind of your own personal choice. I see it a mix between a 1.5 and 2, to be honest, but again, I kind of like how they did it from this perspective. If you've never played the first game, it's perfectly fine, because if you're going into the second one, then this is probably the proper way to go about it, because again, you'll still get the same experience for the first one. You'll still get all the important details as far as the story and plot line goes, pretty much making you feel like you're part of the story and action. And honestly, I think that's the best way they could have gone on about it. But in the end, I'm easily going to give Attack on Titan 2 a 9 out of 10. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.